Thank you for tuning in and listening to my little version of what I've seen others do on YouTube. Kind of their coming out statement, coming out from the curtains from which we were hiding, in which we believed that there was such a thing as a government and a state and people that were allowed to take money and shoot us and all this. And of kind of stepping out of that box and thinking maybe there are other opportunities in life. Maybe there are other options. Maybe there are other ways of doing things. So this is my brief story. I was reared in a Mennonite community in Tennessee, deeply religious, and moved to Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Got interested in law enforcement, so spent 10 years in that. Got a college degree or two in the meantime, and was interested in social science, and became a husband and a father and a property owner and a business owner and then another business owner, and I'm certainly by no means affluent, but I do work a lot and sometimes get paid for doing that work. And it was at this time, a couple years ago, that the Ron Paul campaign was going on, and I heard about it, and it seemed pretty good. I'd read some Ayn Rand and was, mildly interested in the political world, in politics, and I hadn't really delved into it too deeply. It was just kind of a back burner type thing, but I think I considered myself to be an objectivist. So I became involved in the Ron Paul campaign and invested money locally and to the national campaign. And, like many of us in that campaign, hundreds of hours of time talking to people and making up a new flyer on the computer and handing it out and going to a convention 4 hours away and all these things that many of us did. Through the Ron Paul campaign, I learned about Mises Institute, and I'd heard of Cato, but learned a bit more, and then started learning about some other thinkers in the, we'll call it libertarian with a small L world. And I learned about Karl Wapner and Stefan Molyneux and Larkin Rose and some of the other thinkers in our movement. And upon further reflection, I realized that I am not a minarchist, and I don't use the term limited government because, I don't really think it says what it means to say or what we think it says. It's kind of like saying a mild child molester. I'm not going to say it's an oxymoron, but they just really don't fit together. Governments never limit themselves. They've never successfully been limited by their subjects. So to say limited government, just doesn't really make sense. Kind of like saying a well-tanned redhead. I've never experienced it, and my redheaded friends certainly haven't either. Well, we wish we could. So how did I get here? Well, I decided that I was going to look at morality, I was going to look at ethics, and I was going to apply the principles that I believed in across the board, and kind of the consequences be damned. And so I looked at some things like is it right to hit people? And I decided that it's not right to hit people unless you're defending yourself. It's not right to steal from people, and it's not right to defraud people, in a roundabout white-collar kind of way, just like it's not okay to steal in a blue-collar kind of way. It's not okay to threaten someone, just walk up to someone and threaten them. I kind of put all these things into the same category of force or violence. It's not okay to initiate violence or force against other people. And that kind of makes sense to me. And I can, I don't look upon a god or even more than one gods or any other deity or character or anything like that. It just kind of makes sense to me. I don't think my education through my formal scholastic education had anything to do with this realization. It was just kind of, I realized that when I treated people that way, I felt better when I didn't initiate violence. And of course, I felt much better when people didn't initiate violence against me. And so I realized that was one of the principles I wanted to have and wanted to live by. And then another principle was honesty. being willing to tell the truth even when it hurts, or even when you think it's going to hurt your reputation or your relationships in the short term. It's probably worth just having a policy of always being honest. Now, this one I still struggle with. There are times that I don't approach every person I see on the street and comment as to their gigantic size and how I'm surprised that they were able to come out in public without being ashamed, even if that's what I'm thinking. Shame on me for thinking that. Yeah, I know that's another issue. I'm a jerk that way, but I'm not honest to the point to that point. However, when asked a question or in things that are materially relevant, I'm pretty open and pretty honest. I'm not perfect, but I certainly strive for that. So then I looked at these principles and I thought, well, what if we apply them a little bit more broadly? What if we apply them everywhere? What if I expected of others what I expect of myself? What if? And so I thought about the people that call themselves government, that steal from me, that initiate violence against me, to help others, of course. And then I compared them to the mob. The mob, they go around the neighborhood. I guess the Italian mob, they're the popular ones that we like to watch movies about. They'll go around the neighborhood and they'll make the shopkeepers give them a little bit of money every week to protect the shopkeepers from anybody that would steal from them. And then they would go out and do other good things. They'd help the widows in the neighborhood and kind of take care of the neighborhood. And then I realized there really isn't much of a difference between that kind of mob or that kind of mafia and the other kind of mafia that calls themselves government. I still have a lot of friends that are in that mafia, and I haven't really come to terms with that yet. But I like these folks. I like having lunch with them and playing poker with them and spending time. So I haven't broken off those relationships. However, I came to the conclusion that in my own life, I want to have voluntary interactions with others. I don't want to use force. Don't want others to use force against me. I want to be honest with others. I want others to be honest with me. So that got rid of several social institutions. That got rid of the political system, the Democrats and Republicans, and other forms of government, libertarians with capital L, the Green Party, the Department of Homeland Security. These are all little branches or parts of government. And decided I wasn't going to be active in those parts of government anymore. When I came to this realization, it was time for me to resign. I was the treasurer for my county GOP. Even though I was libertarian-leaning, I was thinking I could work within the system to change for the better. So I resigned from that position and decided to live my life learning more about humans, peace, getting along well with others, standing up for oneself, being responsible, being honest, being a good person, a good neighbor, a good friend, a good family member. And that's how I decided to be a voluntarist. And I encourage you to investigate voluntarism, anarcho-capitalism, free market anarchy, whatever we want to call it. Read the greats, the Rothbards, the Molyneux, the Watners, and check into the philosophy. I think you might, at first you'll think it's ridiculous, but then look at it logically and try to prove some of the points wrong. And I've tried, and I can't. It would be so much more comfortable to get all head up over that doggone Obama and what a terrible job he's doing, or over that doggone moron Bush and what a terrible job he's doing. But quite frankly, I don't care anymore. They say they're a president of a country, but for the kick of it, I'll tell you right now, I'm the president of a country too. So the only difference between me and those guys is more people believe them than those that believe me. If more people believe that I was than believe that they are, I could build a little system around it, and I would be. So, it's just an illusion. So check it out. Look at some of these mind twisters and make your own mind up. And if you come to different conclusions, that's great. Just make sure they're logical. Make sure make sure you get there through a scientific method. Make sure you don't just emotion your way there or feel your way there. Think your way there. And thanks for listening.